No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just going to keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Bryan H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode, the 50th episode of Break It Down with Bryan H. You know what? Guess what? It was so nice. You got to do it twice. I'm joined by the Realness himself, the Real Dwayne Allen. What's up, bro?
What's happening, brother?
Man,
appreciate you having me on again.
Man, you know, like I told you, open invitation. It's our brand. You know, I just happen to just do a podcast. And, you know, people will be treated because you got something coming up, as you know. You want to tell them about it real quick?
Absolutely. Starting as of tomorrow, after we finish recording this episode of Breaking Down with Bryan H., I will be doing exclusive content for Instagram called Realness Reacts. Well, I just take a quick minute to address quick things and subjects that's going on in the world of professional wrestling. Like I said, I got a big mouth and I got an opinion about everything. So, hey, why not put it to good use?
There we go, man. I mean, I'm privy to it, but now the people will be privy to it. And guess what, folks? You're going to get the Real Dwayne Allen right here on the 50th episode for the whole show. So let's get right into it. I'm starting off. Let's hit off with the top rope this week.
Going up to the top rope.
It's time for this week's Top Rope segment of the week.
All right, so the top rope this week, Hulk Hogan returning to pay tribute to the late, great Mean Gene Okerlund. Dwayne, what's your memory? Give me a quick memory of Mean Gene.
You know my first memory of Mean Gene Okerlund? My very first memory of Mean Gene Okerlund is in a big plastic school bus holding a bunch of rubber LJN World Wrestling Federation Superstar action figures.
Wow, you took it back.
He was the only guy in the toy box that had a suit and a microphone in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was the voice of almost every major generation. He was there for almost every boom period in professional wrestling. Timeless, classic. I mean, everyone knew who Mean Gene was. And I mean, from the WWF all the way to WCW, all the way back to when he came back on to WWE, he became the host of WWF Confidential. And he said, "I'm back home where I belong." And I remember that line stood out to me so much. That was way back when I took you back.
Mm-hmm.
Mean Gene Okerlund was the voice of professional wrestling. And I think he's one of those voices that will always go down in history, you know. So, yeah, it's still rough to talk about, you know what I mean? But, man, that was a major hit to the world of professional wrestling.
Yes, sir. It's definitely a major hit, man. I grew up, you know, we always talk about it. You know, we're 2 years apart, but in wrestling years, that's almost not lifetime, but sometimes it's a generation, you know. So I remember, you know, seeing him as the guy backstage interviewing Hulk Hogan, you know, interviewing Macho Man, you know, that iconic line, "Put that cigarette out," you know, or when he was interviewing Bravish and Rick Rude and something was falling, he just blurted out, you know, choice words on air, you know. But like Hulk Hogan said, Mean Gene, the Hulkamania character doesn't get over without Mean Gene. You know, I've been blessed to do some interviews with professional wrestlers. I've been blessed to even do some, you know, a couple backstage announcing here and there. And I'm not just saying this just because we're honoring a man. In my head, I always think about a Mean Gene line. You know, with me at this time, it's so-and-so, you know, and everybody, if you're a broadcaster, you kind of want to have a little bit of Mean Gene into it. If you're a wrestler, you kind of want to be interviewed by Mean Gene. You know, he was the soundtrack, as Triple H put it, of a whole era, man.
Absolutely. I mean, there's two names you hear that's almost synonymous when it comes to the voices of professional wrestling. And, you know, you hear about four names to me. And it always starts with like Gordon Soley. You know, you hear the numerous stories about hearing that voice, hearing that name, and the countless interviews Gordon Soley had. You know, and then you go from Gordon Soley right into Mean Gene Okerlund. I mean, it's just the time periods in which his career has spanned over, and he's been a part of almost every major moment and or boom period outside of the Attitude Era, but he had his fair share of moments in WCW and the Monday Night Wars with his hotline and stuff like that. It was crazy. I was watching the movie Ready to Rumble the other day, and of course he's all in the movie, and I was like, man, it's kind of crazy to think about, and it's hard to think that he's not even his appearance in like Legends House and hearing his voice on Storytime on the WWE Network.
Yeah, man,
his voice is timeless.
Exactly, and it just, I think that, we never see, you brought up a good point. The voice is timeless. Even in his old age, MCW owner Dan McDevitt posted a tribute, and he talked about how Mean Gene was sick back in December and really he was like, man, Mr. Okerlund, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have came. And he said, no, I have to do this for my fans. He said he was in a wheelchair, but he requested that he could do his interviews by standing near the stage because he didn't want to see him, he didn't want fans to see him in a wheelchair, and then he wanted to get to his table before the fans could see him because he didn't want people to see him like that. But he said, just to honor his word, and Greg Excellent, and there was another wrestler, had an opportunity to be interviewed by him. But I went back and I watched that interview, and like I said, you said timeless voice, man. He still had that Mean Gene swagger. And I thought that's what was great,
Yeah, man. It's like I said, just situations like this and people like him and the impact that he's had on the lives of so many people in their childhoods and even into their adulthoods is something you just can't. Sometimes it becomes indescribable sometimes.
And I gotta ask you this because we got the people's attention, and clearly, if they're in iTunes, if they're in Spotify, or if they're looking on YouTube, they know two things: we're African American males, or we're black, as I would say. So I think you know where I'm going with this one.
I like to think that's pretty obvious.
Was this the right way to bring Hulk Hogan back, and how did you feel?
Well, see, that's almost a double-edged sword because what question are you asking? How did I feel as an African American wrestling fan, or how did I feel just about Hulk Hogan paying tribute to Mean Gene Okerlund?
Both.
Those are two different questions.
Yeah, that is, and you're right. How did you feel just seeing Hulk Hogan back in the WWE ring in the United States in general? We can put the Mean Gene part in it, but first and foremost, how did you feel seeing Hulk Hogan back in the ring?
I mean, the wrestling ring is where Hulk Hogan belongs. Mm-hmm. That's his universe. That's his place of being. That's not for me to say. As a fan, it's different because I don't share business with Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't share the industry with him. I wasn't the biggest Hulkamaniac. He was Hulk Hogan, of course, and of course, in WWF and then WCW, is running TNA. As an African American, it's important to always remember, first and foremost, that racially and socially driven tyrants or raids or rants, or whatever you have to say, will never be acceptable, ever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't know Hulk Hogan personally, so I can't sit there and judge him based off who he is because I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the WWE that, to me, isn't always as racially sensitive. Most probably like it to be, but then again, it's the entertainment business, so it's not their responsibility to do that. They do have responsibility to the ones that do work there and the communities that they represent. And they have already addressed that situation. I guess you can consider guys like Titus O'Neil in the New Day, very educated brothers that have sort of taken their stance on the situation to say, look, this is not about my personal beliefs about Hulk Hogan. This is about a business tenure on a stage that we both share. Mm-hmm. As an entertainer in this setting, if this is the way they choose to use him, then I personally do not take offense to it as someone who is sharing the same setting as him. Now, my views as an African-American have nothing to do with why he's here. So naturally, it's not my place to sit there and disregard whatever they decide to do with Hulk Hogan creatively. And quite honestly, I feel the same way. I'm also a Christian. I'm a devout Christian, and I have no bones about hiding that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe in forgiveness. And if that man has, honestly, I don't know what he's done, but from what he said, he's asked for forgiveness and he's turned his life around from where it used to be. Like I said, I wouldn't want somebody holding me to something I did almost 10, 12 years ago, no matter how wrong it was. So, I also feel that we have to kind of forgive people and allow what the fruit of their lives that they're currently living to display who they are versus holding against them what they did in the past.
Yes, sir. And that's how I feel, man. Everybody knows I've been saying it, it's 50th episode, so I've said it before. I'm happy, he did his time. He did the crime, he did his time. I'm happy he's back. I'm a huge Hulkamania.
You don't have to tell me that you're a Hulkamaniac, bro.
But I don't, and I will say this: no, I don't need to see him in the ring every day. I mean, in the ring every week. But this, I was happy to finally see him on a WWE Monday Night Raw on television. I popped. So I was happy, and to see the tribute he gave to Gene, man, was awesome. Especially how he incorporated the other ones that have gone on. He said the greatest tag team match with oh my goodness, it was Macho Man and what? Oh, man, who was it? Mr. Perfect versus Roddy Piper and somebody. God, forgive me for that. God knows I can't even remember right now. But he said Andre the Giant as the special guest referee. So I just thought that was just so cool.
Right.
And then he says he's probably getting all jacked up, for Moolah and Mae Young. So it just, you could see that there was genuine love there. And Hogan's tweet is actually the tweet, man. If you remember in the group chat, I saw his tweet about 6 to 8 minutes after he tweeted and said, "Mean Gene, I love you, brother." And my first thought was like, no, don't tell me. Because that's what happens a lot of times. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember with Dusty Rhodes, that day I was scrolling up on Twitter and right there was Triple H, his was forthcoming, sad to announce the passing of that Dusty Rhodes. It's like, oh my goodness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But speaking of Dusty, let's talk about his son Cody.
Oh boy, talking about Cody.
I'm gonna give I gotta give his brother a shout out, man, because he's been a day one supporter of the wrestling realm, and that's our good buddy Nino. He says, "You and Dwayne Allen need to do a new podcast because AEW will be a success." Emoji 100. We saw the announcement. AEW, All Elite Wrestling. They've added Chris Jericho, Pac, formerly known as Neville, Joey Janela, Britt Baker, Cody and the Bucks, according to Dave Meltzer, have signed 5-year deals.
Good gosh.
Yeah. Last week, you stated you just needed more information. And I think a lot of people got that. You wasn't saying this promotion is going to die. You was sure wasn't saying that.
Nobody ever said it wasn't going to be a success.
Bingo. So, your thoughts. Unleash the realness.
Like, that was the biggest thing. And I knew it was going to be misappropriated because if you look at wrestling Twitter today, you have two sides of wrestling fans. There's the smart group that's like, look, we all love wrestling. Let's not cause no fake wars out here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not start trying to put each other against each other because we prefer one product over the other. I just recorded my Realness reacts to AEW, the press conference in particular.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, like I said, I kind of stand by my statement. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not drinking the Kool-Aid, but let me explain what I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid about. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid that this is going to change anything in the world of professional wrestling when it comes to competition to the WWE. And if you don't believe me, JR said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like JR said on the Ross report, it does not mean that this company is not going to be successful. Like I said, we still have very little information on what exactly this really means in regards to a promotion, because there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration when you're talking about a national wrestling promotion. Is this a company that's just going to do house shows and major pay-per-views in big arenas? Or is this a wrestling company that's trying to strike a TV deal? Because then at that point, you bring a whole bunch of other factors into things, and it changes what you claim you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
For example, AEW, All Elite Wrestling, is saying this is a promotion for the fans. Okay, we've heard that before, fair. But my question is, for one, in what way? And in what way does that change when you decide you want a TV deal? Because now it's not just about the fans. You have to answer to television executives that may not be familiar with your property. They may not be familiar with your trademarks or your product that you're putting on in the ring. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to care if the Khan family or if the fans like your stuff. It's like, look, if we're paying big money for you to get these spots on television, in what way does this benefit us and our conglomerate? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one question you have to ask. Another question you have to ask is, okay, what kind of contracts are you signing these superstars to? I'm curious. I think the biggest shock everybody saw was like Chris Jericho, Pac, formerly known as Neville. But the guys like SoCal Uncensored, Joey Janela, MJF, stuff like that, Hangman Page, it made me really wonder. I said, okay, what exactly does this do to the rest of the world of professional wrestling? Let me explain. Everybody wants to talk about how it affects the WWE, the WWE, the WWE. I get it. It's the big dog. Of course, it's going to make sense. That's what you have to say. But Cody Rhodes has stepped foot in a number of different pro wrestling promotions all around the world.
Since he left.
As a competitor, bringing and drawing money to their companies. And now he has gone to start his own. And now he's pulling wrestlers from these various promotions when they're free agents and signing them to these very family-friendly contracts. They're saying, you know what, we're going to take care of you guys. Well, wait a minute. So what does that mean? Is Ring of Honor going to lose talent now? Because everybody's going to say, well, my contract is up with them. I'm going to AEW. Hangman Page came out there and said, this is the best first day on the job I've ever had. I don't have to answer to any corporate suits because, like I said, you're working for a company owned by a television conglomerate. It's always a different ball game. What does that mean for the NWA? What does that mean for New Japan Pro Wrestling? They actually came out and said, well, let's put it this way. I don't know if they said that exactly, but I read somewhere, that New Japan Pro Wrestling has already made it clear that they will continue their partnership with Ring of Honor and not All Elite Wrestling. What does that mean for Cody Rhodes and Young Bucks in regards to these other promotions? Can those guys carry a promotion, them and Jericho and Pac and Britt Baker? I'm curious. Honestly, I don't know. Because like I said, all these places you stepped in, Evolve, Progress, Revolution Pro, UK, now you're competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's not pretend like we're all in one big happy family. What is going to be the working relationship between All Elite Wrestling and these other promotions? Are they going to be afraid to sit there and do a talent share program with All Elite Wrestling because All Elite is guaranteeing good money? I don't know the type of contracts that people are going to get. Bad boy Joey Janela, I remember seeing him the most in Ring of Honor. How do they feel about the situation now?
Right.
Cody revived his career in Ring of Honor for the most part. And the Young Bucks spent majority of their career between New Japan and Ring of Honor. They've left. Yeah. Hangman Page was a Ring of Honor product as far as I'm concerned. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
How do they feel about it? How does Billy Corgan and the NWA feel about AEW? How does Joe Koff and Ring of Honor feel about AEW? How does New Japan Pro Wrestling feel about AEW? To me, that's where the conversation needs to go because now that affects everybody else. If you're going to pay me $150 per match, but AEW says, no, we're going to sign you to a fat contract because we care about you. It's almost a no-brainer. So what does that mean for the business of professional wrestling? What if these other companies can't sign these guys to those type of contracts? Does that mean they change their business or do they lose their stars?
You know, you're making a lot of sense, and it just brought up something to my mind. What's the difference with Cody's doing than Vince Jr.? Obviously, Vince wasn't a wrestler, but to me, and I could be going off on a limb here, and this is where you bring me back from. I am, but like I'm listening to you, and I'm like, man, that really sounds a lot like Vince McMahon when you had the territories and the working relationships, and then Vince went, said, no, I want to compete.
Things began to change when Vince Jr. decided he wanted to go national.
Mm-hmm.
His father was against it. That's the big story that we always hear about the McMahon family and the change of the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
Vince decided to say, look, not only am I taking your talent and your regional territory, I decided, you know what, we want to put our stuff in syndication all across the country now.
Yep.
That changes things. Now, all of a sudden, promoters were like, we got to start protecting our assets and our profits, but they already sold everything to Vince.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you can probably look at it on a lesser scale, what difference, how does this sound any different from what Jeff Jarrett had decided to do with TNA?
Yeah.
When WCW went under and it kind of, sat there for a year, about 2002, all of a sudden, let's not forget, there was a lot of NWA Hall of Famers and WCW guys that started out in TNA. Right. They eventually started working for the WWE again. We're talking guys like Dusty Rhodes. We're talking guys like Ricky Steamboat. We're talking guys like Larry Zbyszko. You know what I mean? Then you got guys like Vince Russo, of course, working Jerry Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett, of course. And then, so what's the difference between Jeff Jarrett and the Carter family with Panda Energy versus Cody Rhodes and the Khan family?
Mm-hmm.
Now, right now, it's too early to say. Don't get me wrong, because we still don't have enough information. We just have. All we have is to go off is this recent press conference and their initial plans for what they plan to do in the immediate future. There's still not a lot of details. All we know is they're signing these guys to contracts. I'm like, okay, cool. When I hear contract, it sounds kind of ironclad, not just, okay, you're booked for this performance, you're booked under for this, or you're a free agent. I don't know what this all means. Mm-hmm. When I hear Joey Janela and then I'm like, did they sign these guys to contracts, or are they just saying these are guys that are working per appearance? I don't know the nature of these contracts, what they're talking about.
Right.
So it makes me wonder, what difference is this between TNA? Don't get me wrong, TNA did something very different, and they brought us a lot of stars that we never had access to. So is AEW doing the same thing? Mm-hmm. Are they going to create their own superstars, or are they just taking current guys and giving them opportunities and giving them a chance? I don't know.
That's a good point right there. Because, that's what I want to see, right? You just hit it right on the head. Can they create new superstars?
And listen to me. This is not the first time this has happened, and I put emphasis on that as to why I'm saying, look, I think this is great. It's going to be absolutely. I'm already a huge fan of it before I even watch it, absolutely. But don't start selling me that. Oh, here comes competition garbage. And I'm like, listen, I'm not buying it. You're not going to get me overly hyped and overly gassed about a new promotion because everybody's excited about the bells and whistles. Because there was a time when TNA and Ring of Honor was doing talent sharing until the point where they said you could no longer use TNA guys on Ring of Honor DVDs. Ring of Honor said, look, this is how we make majority of our money. All of a sudden, TNA stopped releasing their guys to do Ring of Honor shows. Mm-hmm. So guys like AJ Styles couldn't go back and forth to Ring of Honor. Roderick Strong could no longer go back and forth between TNA and Ring of Honor. He had to make a choice. Austin Aries couldn't go back and forth between Ring of Honor and TNA. He had to make a choice. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because that's when TNA decided they wanted to become competition. What happens now with AEW when they decided, hey, let's do some sort of talent sharing opportunity because you haven't signed enough to really make any real noise. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. They've got some really top talented guys that are currently on the landscape of professional wrestling, but a lot of those guys are gone. Once again, I make my favorite point. If this was 2015, things would be really interesting right now. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite line. If this was 2015 in the state of independent wrestling and the way global wrestling was set up, it would be a really interesting time right now. But right now, I just think it's fresh. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. But is it game-changing? Honestly, I don't know. No, I take it back. Yes, it is. It's definitely game-changing. I'm not taking nothing away from Cody Rhodes and Young Bucks. It is definitely revolutionary in its own right. Is it going to change anything? Absolutely. Is it going to be competition for the WWE? Of course not. Nobody thinks that it is. And if you do, I mean, more power to you. But like I said, for me, I'm still in a wait-and-see approach. Don't get me all hyped up like this is going to be a fresh national brand to the level in which WCW was able to compete with the WWF/WW. No, still WWF. During that era that brought us so many mega moments. But do I think it's an opportunity for guys to have jobs and to perform and even more wrestling? Absolutely. And that's the best part about it. That's the part I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, man. It's definitely gonna be interesting. And I'm just wondering, I mean, well, you said something. Were you surprised that Jericho went?
No, of course not.
Okay, yeah, I thought you mentioned people were surprised.
No, but see, the thing is, I don't think nobody thought that Jericho would openly profess to signing a contract with another company.
Okay,
Right?
I got you. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And like I
yeah.
said, and the reason is I think everybody's buzzing because they keep using the C word. They keep saying contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he worked New Japan, he never said, I'm signing a New Japan Pro Wrestling contract.
And held one of their WGP titles.
He held the IWGP Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
He still had his Jericho cruise. He still showed up on Raw. Was it what was that? What episode was that? 25th anniversary or whatever it was? Or I don't know if it's the 1000th episode or whatever. He showed up on Raw still. Like it wasn't a thing. Now they're like, I'm signing contracts. I'm all in for All Elite Wrestling. I'm like, what does that really mean?
And we don't know what these contracts state. You know what I mean?
And that's the part. And don't get me wrong, I definitely applaud the marketing department.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think that they're not saying the word contract, just happenstance, trust me, it's definitely on purpose. When you say you're signing guys, I'm like, that means you're pretty locked in. You're not just booking people. There's a difference between signing somebody and booking people. And when I'm hearing these people say, oh, I'm signed to All Elite Wrestling, I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean you're signed? Like you signed exclusive guy. Like Ring of Honor has guys that are signed, but not everybody's signed long-term contract or exclusive contracts with Ring of Honor. Usually Jay Lethal's, your Adam Cole's did for their last runs.
Right.
Jay Lethal still. But I'm curious to know what that really means.
Well, yeah, that's certainly interesting, man. We're gonna take our first break because then we're gonna get back and talk some WWE and we're gonna talk some New Japan. I got the right guy to talk New Japan, but before we do that, I got a word from my good friend Jordan, who has a gaming podcast. So here's a word from her.
What's up, guys? It is Jordan Curl. I am the host and producer of the On the Sticks podcast. You can hear the show every Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else that podcasts are heard. We discuss gaming, esports, and any other topics that's on your mind, featuring guest interviews as well as news from around esports. I hope you're tuned in. And now, back to Break It Down with Brian H. Brought to you by the Wrestling Wrealm.
And we're back, folks. Make sure you check out On the Sticks Pod, brought to you by Jordan Curl. Especially if you're a huge gamer, that's the podcast you want to check out. So let's go back to WWE. Brock Lesnar returned this Monday on Raw, finally, and he decided eventually to go to the ring and face square off with Braun Strowman. Did you see that part? Did you pay attention? Or?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
No, I actually watched Raw. I was actually looking forward to actually watching Raw. It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah, because I've come to accept that Brock Lesnar is the Universal Champion. While you've always been a fan of it. And most of the time I was wondering, like, well, is this just because you don't like Roman Reigns or didn't like the way Roman Reigns was being booked, I should say, because you never had a problem with the guy. You just didn't like what they were shoving him down throats. But, I've come to the conclusion, it is what it is. Are you sold that Braun Strowman can beat him for the title?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm just glad I'm not the only one.
And let me tell you why I'm not. One, he's fresh off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know where he is as far as his injury. And I think when Braun was at his at the peak of his game,
mm-hmm.
they didn't really capitalize on it. And I was watching Raw per the usual on a Monday, working on stuff for the Wrestling Wrealm as we speak. And I was scrolling through wrestling Twitter, as I like to call it, and I saw a tweet that made me uncomfortable because it was so true and I've had to think about it. And it was something to the degree of, it's sad, but Braun Strowman is just Big Show Jr. And they said he's big enough to be a monster and a main event guy where you can kind of plug and play him at any point in time into the title match, but not really a serious contender or a guy that you really expect to carry the brand. And I was like, ouch, because it started to look really true, especially after that promo. I think to me, I could be wrong, but I'm watching, and Braun Strowman gets on the mic and he's calling out Brock Lesnar in his crazy monster voice. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's the beginning of the promo. And then Paul Heyman had his turn. And to me, I didn't realize what I thought I was looking at, but it might have been a sink or swim moment for Braun Strowman, because Paul Heyman said what he had to say. He made what he had to say. He kind of taunted him, and Brock said, "Let's sit," and then sat there, and they said, "Let's see what Braun has." Finally, and he just kind of waited. And Braun grabs the mic and he goes, "You're in the ring," and I'm like, "Oh
yes."
I said,
it's funny. I knew he was gonna fry his butt for that.
and it caught my attention. I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Are they throwing him to the wolves right now to see if he can hang with the big dogs?" And Paul Heyman's like, "Is that all he has? Is that all you guys?" I'm like, "Oh." And you heard the fans kind of like, "Oh." And Braun grabs my mic. He's like, "All I'm hearing," and he's raising his voice. I'm like, "Yo, you're raising your voice." Like the psychology will tell you, listen, you raising your voice is not making anybody less scared, because they're backstage and you're in the ring, and all you're doing is raising your voice before the climax of the situation. So then he's raising his voice again, and he's saying this stuff, and it's not working, and it kind of falls flat. And that's when Brock goes, let me go see what he has to say. And I was like, ooh, I hope they ain't throw Braun to the wolves, see if he can hang with the big dogs. Kind of like when John Cena did to Roman Reigns, the same way that Rock did it to John Cena, was like, look, let's see if you can hang with the big dog. Let's see if you can fly by the seat of your pants, because if you're going to be the guy, you kind of got to be able to do that, or you have to have someone like a Paul Heyman that can do that for you. And to me, I was like, ooh, Braun, you're yelling and screaming. You snatched off your shirt so soon, and you got overly hyped, but then you had to come down to explain yourself just to get hyped again, and then you had to come down to explain yourself, and then you got even louder. And I'm like, where's this going? He's not afraid of you, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Real Dwayne Allen. Give it to you. Oh, it's only the realness can.
And at that moment, I said, oh, no, this is not going to end well for Braun Strowman. So that's the reason I said to myself, I think Brock's going to hold this for a little while longer. Because if you can't just go from Brock Lesnar to mediocre money. It made sense, Roman Reigns beating Brock Lesnar, as much as I didn't like it, of course. But I've never been a big Roman Reigns fan. But it makes sense because Roman Reigns, regardless, is one of your money makers. He's main evented your last 30 WrestleManias. Right? So it makes sense because that's a money guy. Then you look at Braun, you're like, When Goldberg beat Kevin Owens, it was kind of obvious what was going to happen. Because I'm like, well, this is a big money thing. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal title. The title's still kind of fresh. It's still kind of new. It's still trying to me, I say this, and this is why I'm always a huge fan of Brock Lesnar. He has solidified that title.
Hold on, pause. Shark, calm down. Let him explain.
He has solidified that title. Didn't matter how many times you saw him show up. He is a big deal. He's going to be on ESPN. He's going to be on Fox Sports. He's going to be on every major news outlet, no matter what he does. He's the only person I know in professional wrestling that can make an announcement about what he's going to do when his contract is up, and it makes news. Nobody cares if John Cena's contract is coming up. It's not going to be in the sports news because there's always this thing in the back of everybody's mind. He should go back to UFC and give it a go one more time. He's old as dirt. But yeah, he's such a money draw. Just him showing up, it means money. It means dollar signs. It means eyes to your product. It means streams. He is big money. So him having it makes it such a big deal because fans hate the fact that he won't even show up because he doesn't care. In Braun's promo, he sat there and told Paul Heyman, I got to get home. But Braun's out there screaming and yeah, you got to come. I'm about to come. He looked at Paul Heyman and said, I gotta get home soon. He's a big money draw. So whoever holds that title afterwards is going to be a big deal. That title's not going to be considered a second tier title because if you look at those names that have been associated with that title, Brock Lesnar is the biggest one. He's been the most consistent. Maybe not in the ring or showing up on the road or on the show, but in regards to a champion who's defended it on the biggest stage time after time after time, who else holds a better space with that title? Please tell me. Whether you like it or not.
You're
You
right.
don't have to like it. But what I'm saying, when you look at that belt, who do you think of? Be honest.
Brock.
There you go.
Yes, I mean, well, he's got over 500 days with it.
Yeah,
maybe
and,
6.
And he showed up on TV a total of 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. It is what it is. That's all I'm saying.
And I wanted to say in that moment, I wish I could say Roman. Unfortunately,
it was going to be Roman.
No,
trust me, he was going to be wearing that strap today.
But you know what made me mad about Roman's reign? Baron Corbin, man, just suspending his title defenses until I've always called it the greatest Royal Rumble, Crown Jewel, and then obviously what happened. Because to me, it seemed like Roman was ready to defend that title. He was trying to go like Bret Hart-esque, you know what I mean, to make a point because Brock wasn't defending the title except on big money matchups. So that's but you're right. It would be him, but it is Brock Lesnar. He's the biggest name to hold the title. As much as I like Kevin Owens, Finn Balor's okay, but it's definitely Brock Lesnar.
Why is he even in the conversation, yo?
He was the first. That's the only reason why I got to put him in the conversation.
It doesn't. You can't call that a run.
It's not, but
you call it a run. You said it was a run.
I said a run. I said, well, people who hold the title, the names who hold the title.
Oh, okay, I got it. Names who hold the title.
But let's speak of a title that I love. A title that's always been, been around since I've been watching wrestling, the WWE Championship. Now, we saw Daniel Bryan start off the show, and he's in the crowd, man. And he's, back, at the concession stands, he's smacking stuff out of people's hands. And then he comes out there, he beats your boy R-Truth, only to leave for, AJ Styles and whatnot.
Just 3 legends all by themselves.
3 legends their own way by themselves. Are you? No, that's the wrong question. I was about to say, what you just. We're getting AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan again, right?
Right.
Were you surprised? Did you think that the company was going to go in a different direction? Maybe throwing like Rey Mysterio or maybe even Mustafa Ali? Were you surprised they gave us this match again?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And I'll say that because for big pay-per-views like the Royal Rumble, that's one of your. That's one of your OGs. That's one of your big dogs throughout the year. There's so much that comes with the Royal Rumble. Both the Royal Rumble winner and the title match. You're never going to go wrong with AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan because they both have enough knowledge, skill, ability, and experience in the ring that they can tell a different story every single time they get in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Because you saw the same thing with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, and their feud never got old. Only real vets can do that. Ric Flair was a master of it. I think wrestlers from the older generation mastered it more than current modern day wrestlers because a lot of those guys were wrestling each other the same night, sometimes for a year straight. Mm-hmm. And the way regional television worked, it kind of forced you to have to do those types of things. Versus when you have national syndication, you're like, oh shoot, this is the fans are consuming the same match over and over again, just in front of different audiences around the world. I think with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, to me, it never gets old. To me, it's a dream come true. It's a dream match. It never gets old, especially with the switch up in the authority figures changing on both shows. Mm-hmm. Triple H challenging his guy, Seth Rollins. McMahon challenging his guy. And don't get me wrong, it's definitely his guy. AJ Styles, bringing that side. Now we're seeing a different AJ Styles because here's the dynamic of the situation. AJ Styles was the face that ran the place. He was exciting. He was the new John Cena. He was the family-friendly face of WWE and the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan comes back and goes, you guys love me the same way, and you turned on me. You're fake. You're fickle. I want nothing to do with you. I'm going to start being myself, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get what I want. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. McMahon had to force AJ Styles to snap into that pit bull that he's always said he wanted to see from AJ Styles. AJ Styles mentioned that when he first got to the WWE. He said, where's that mean? That's that pit bull. And guess what? That AJ Styles is back because he lost what was most important to him by a cheater, by a shyster in Daniel Bryan. So now we're going to see a different dynamic come Royal Rumble because we're going to see a more violent, a more edgier, a more pit bullish AJ Styles versus the new Daniel Bryan. So it's the real AJ Styles versus the new Daniel Bryan. And I'm saying to myself, oh my goodness, this match is the reason I kind of don't care about too much outside of WWE, because years ago, this is a match I never thought I'd have. So I'm kind of stuck in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So was I surprised that you get this at the Royal Rumble? I was like, whoa, it was a pleasant surprise, but I'm not surprised. It was like, oh, wow, they're going to give this to us again? But I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense because it's the Rumble. Like, what else? You're not going to take a risk on a first matchup for the WWE Championship outside of the Royal Rumble itself, because that will announce the winner that goes on to face, I guess, either the Universal Champion or the WWE Champion. But we can't even say it's for the main event anymore because I guess they're saying that now it doesn't guarantee you the main event slot.
Mm-hmm.
So was I surprised? Not at all. You can't go wrong with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great. This was a match I wanted to see at WrestleMania, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I wanted to see it in a different dynamic, meaning, I was thinking about the story that we all thought we would get, where Daniel Bryan would go ahead, win the Royal Rumble, and then have the ultimate showdown with AJ Styles, yada, yada, yada. But I think I like this one more because I'm not, eventually that was going to get old. And I got to admit that. The whole yes movement, and not so much the yes movement, but the feel-good story, because no matter what, Daniel Bryan had came back, and he was still the number 2 babyface. AJ Styles was that much of the number 1 babyface, So I'm excited about this one. I love the stuff that they're doing backstage. Let's talk about Seth Rollins, man. Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose. Rollins got in Triple H's face, like you said, smacked the cup out of his hand. Rollins would go ahead and beat he would challenge Ambrose to a no DQ match. He would lose after Bobby Lashley got involved. Is that where we're going next?
I think so. I mean, that's the fun part about the switch up, the change up. I mean, this is kind of what we were looking for kind of early on in the year with the change WWE. The first matchups, excuse me, like when Bobby Lashley came back, there was a list of people that we all wanted him to get in the ring with. Seth Rollins was one of those people, and we wanted to see Bobby Lashley in a main event role. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about putting the focus on being the main guy, the top guy, the title contender. I mean, because what else are we fighting for on this show? And sometimes when you're like, oh, let's put these guys in these side stories until we find a way to put them into the main event. There's nothing wrong with saying, look, I want to be the top guy around here. And there's nothing wrong with 4 other guys saying, I am not trying to hear that because I'm trying to be the top guy. You got a guy like Seth Rollins that finally gets his mojo back. He finally gets rolling, and he had Dean Ambrose done. And here comes the Dominator. Mm-hmm. Bobby Lashley comes and ruins everything. And I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to end well for somebody. Yeah. So I think Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley is probably the next move, and I'm excited to see it because it's so fresh. It's so different. It's a chance for Bobby Lashley to get in the ring with one of the golden boys of the WWE and show that he can hang in that main event slot and really, give us a fresh story that we probably have not seen before, or at least not on the WWE stage.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be good. We know Rollins can go. Like you said, this to me, it's time for the WWE fans to see a new Bobby Lashley as far as working with the Golden Boy, one of the Golden ones. Let me take a quick break. Got a word from the Flex Zone.
This is D from the Flex Zone. Check out Break It Down with Brian Waters. Ooh, yeah, dig it, freak out.
All right, and we're back. That was my man D from the Flex Zone. You've heard him on here on the podcast before. We did the TLC post show. Make sure you check out the Flex Zone each and every week. And they also got a YouTube channel. Subscribe to them, the Flex Zone, the first one. Let's talk about the women, man. Naomi, Mandy Rose. This thing is heating up, I tell you. On Tuesday, we saw the Usos take on the Bar. If the Usos win, they get a tag team title opportunity. like they need another one. But that's my favorite tag team. But nonetheless, Mandy Rose comes out in a towel and distracts Jimmy Uso. And afterwards, we see Naomi beat the living smack out of her until at one point she was taking on. Ooh, dropped the headset. One point she was taking on her and Sonya Deville at the same time. Only, eventually it would be too much for her. What do you think, man?
I think this gives the women another interesting dynamic to perform. And what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with the jargon I'm using, a lot of times the women were kind of only being showcased in these one. Okay, she wants to be the champion. Okay, she wants to be the champion. Okay, well, we all can't be the champion. And that was kind of, you guys had random good matches, and that's it. To me, this is very, very, very old schoolish, I guess you can say now, where it's a story. It's a believable story. It makes sense. You know what I mean? You have these two young upstarts, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, that are kind of they're kind of trying to feel their way. And you have sort of a veteran in Naomi that's like, nah, I don't care who your new girls are. You got to get them. You got to stake your claim. And they're like, okay, cool. We got something for you. And they're not going head up like, well, I'm better than you. You're better than me. Let's compete. No, they've gone in a very devious way. They've taken very real life situations, because you have Naomi and Jimmy Uso and their marriage. It's been portrayed in so many different lights on television, on the actual shows, and then on shows like Total Divas. So it's not like it's something that we're not familiar with. So to be able to use that and have this interesting dynamic of this blonde-haired, blue-eyed white lady coming after this black woman's husband, I'm like, oh boy, this is have television written all over it. Yeah, I mean, that's TV. You know what I mean? That's very soap opera-ish. And like I said, it's very believable, because like I said, these girls are trying to get under Naomi's skin. They're trying to cause her to crack, and they're getting very, very personal. And it's like, man, and Naomi is so beside herself that she just kind of snaps, but it kind of messes with her better judgment, and she walks into these traps over and over again. And her husband's like, look, don't pay this stuff no mind. But she's like, nah, I'm not going to be disrespected. It's like, man, I want to see where this goes. What actually happens when Mandy Rose has to get in the ring with Naomi? Or what happens if, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose decide they're going to find a way to take Naomi out? She's got to find somebody else. She's got to find a partner. I mean, goodness gracious, God forbid Bianca Belair shows up swinging that ponytail. I'm just saying.
I mean, her and Mandy Rose already had some issues on Twitter a few months ago, several months ago.
I'm just saying.
I believe she said she kind of went on Twitter and said like, "Hey, sis, I'm here if you need me." A while ago when they first started beefing.
I remember that before her and Oscar teamed up. But it's fun though. Like I said, what I'm glad that they're not doing is they're not going, look at women. We're women. Be proud of women. That's cool. We've done that. But give me a reason to really be interested in this story with the women, not because they're women, but because it's an actual good story. And I feel like that's what we're getting. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be good. Like every time they come on, I'm like checking on Twitter and checking this. Like that's a segment that I can't miss, because I don't know what they're going to do next. Like Mandy Rose is crossing the line, and I'm like, oh boy, she is really crossing the line. That's her husband.
Exactly.
Like that's her husband. I'm like, oh, they're doing this on TV. Like, oh, this is not going to end well.
Man, you got to say it like the kids said today. That's her husband.
Like that's her husband. Not like that's her husband. Like that's her husband. Like they are married.
Yeah. But you know what? And the thing I was happy with that Naomi couple 2 words and then pow. Ain't no. So what you doing out there? That was like so, like you said, believable. Because we always talk about it when they was trying to make her heel, and it's just like, no, you're not believable. That was so believable because she do look like a woman. If you mess with her husband, she will knock you out. I have a black wife. I know what they're capable of.
Oh boy. I got nerves hearing you talking about it.
But man, speaking of, let's move on to Raw though. Sasha Banks, man, she defeats Nia Jax and will face Ronda Rousey after Rousey initially wanted to give her the title match. What does you've been one, and you've made the internet upset with your views on Sasha.
I always make them upset. They got to stop being so sensitive.
I know, right? What's your thoughts on this one?
I think it's great for Sasha Banks, and I think it is easy to insert Nia Jax into the mix the way that they have, because there's like I said, when Ronda Rousey has come in, there's a list of dream matches, and she is getting a crash course in complete in-ring competition, and she's learning from everybody she's in the ring with. I mean, she's been in the ring with just about all the major generals, except Sasha Banks.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a light that people are looking to see Sasha Banks in a little bit more, and this makes more sense to do it, right? Like a lot of times, the issue we hear about in wrestling is, sure, you have an idea what you want to do, but now it's how do I pull this off? How do I make it make sense? And where do we go from here? Those are always the questions that I'm constantly hearing former executives in the wrestling business always explain as to why they tend to do things the way they do versus what fans actually want them to do. And for her to say, look, there's one person that deserves what's going on right now. The next contender should be the heart and soul of this division, Sasha Banks. The big bully comes back to the block. Ho. Time out. I don't care what you want. I'm going to tell you what's going down. I'm next in line. You got a problem to deal with. Sasha Banks pretty much said, look, I don't care who you think you are. Let's do this old fashioned. I'll settle in the ring. So they got in the ring. They told a wonderful story. I wanted to see how Sasha Banks was going to survive this because I didn't know, not even paying attention to her finisher. Because I was like, oh, man, that does make sense. Nia Jax got caught slipping, get her in a crazy situation, pull the hair back, position, boom. She taps. I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be good. I think Sasha Banks versus Ronda Rousey. It's once again, it's a fresh matchup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you didn't have to do months of planning just to make it make sense.
Exactly.
So Ronda's like, look, I'm about competition. I'm about defending the title. She's treating it like, and it's easy for her character because she's not over the top. I'm the MMA fighter. She's not like Ken Shamrock. When Ken Shamrock debuted, he everything he did was kind of very MMA fighter type of stereotype, kind of always hopped up, always wanting to fight, always like that was kind of the gimmick, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey's kind of being Ronda Rousey. She's just in WWE now, so she's treating everything like a press. Like she treats her interviews like a press conference. Yeah, I was just working hard, defending the championship like I do every day. I'm looking forward to the next competitor. I'm like, yeah, that's what she would do at a press conference. So she calls out her next opponent, saying, look, in the spirit of competition, I want to get in the ring with her, see what she has. I want to prove that I'm the best. They say she's the best. Let's get it on. Here comes the big big bully on the block. Wait a minute. What are you saying? I don't care what you feel like doing. At the end of the day, I want my rematch, whatever the case may be. Sasha Banks goes out there. She holds her own. She proves it. And now she's kind of got her time in the spotlight at the Royal Rumble. And I think they're probably burning the house down. I mean, if there's one thing that Sasha Banks has always been, she's always been a show stealer when she's been in those one-on-one matches. Too many females, too many tag matches, sometimes she can get lost in the shuffle. But if she's given enough time in the ring, in the right spotlight, in the right spot, she can be a show stealer. I'm looking forward to see what they come up with in the ring, and I'm also looking forward to see what happens afterwards because I don't know. That's does she take it lying down? Is it all good sportsmanship? We've seen Sasha Banks get overly competitive. When she loses, she's not happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She needs some time to get over it. So that's the stuff that I'm looking forward to seeing because what that does is that tells us where it goes next and what we could potentially be looking forward to next. So.
Wow, man. Well, let's switch gears, man. Let's get into some New Japan.
Yes.
I see you get excited. So we saw 8 title changes. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to kind of hit on some of the ones. And I'll start with the IWGP title. Your boy, Tanahashi, defeats Kenny Omega to win. What is this 8th?
I believe it's his I want to say, I don't know. 1 minute I want to say 8th. Next minute I want to say 10. Another minute I want to say 13. Honestly, I don't remember.
Okay. But, he went on. He's the champ. What's your thoughts? And what did you think about the match?
Oh, man. I'll say this. Watching the match between Tanahashi and Kenny Omega. First of all, I've never seen Tanahashi have a bad match since I've been a fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
I've always questioned Kenny Omega's ability to really to be a top guy all the time, not just to have good matches. But what I saw what he did in the ring with Tanahashi, like I actually watched it. I said, man, he's really, really good. And I feel like Tanahashi is that guy that brings that out of people, even at his age, as you know. But the ace of New Japan is just he's no joke. I think Tanahashi has always been the standard bearer. Like I said, to me, he's the John Cena of New Japan Pro Wrestling. The same way when The Rock and everybody was kind of leaving, and Cena and Kurt Angle and Big Show, those kind of guys were kind of looked to be the new guys coming up. And after a while, and Batista, of course, they decided to build around John Cena. New Japan did the same thing with Tanahashi, and they did the same thing with Shinsuke. And then eventually with Okada later after that. But Tanahashi, like I said, to me, is just the standard bearer. Like when you watch him in the ring, it's just like, man, it never gets old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like I get lost watching his wrestling matches because I'm just kind of glued to the television. It's like and the crazy part is I never like watching New Japan wrestling matches with the English commentary. To me, it doesn't fit.
Oh yeah.
I have to watch it with the Japanese because even the spots that they're calling as the commentators are calling the match, it's just certain things that when Tanahashi does, they kind of know those cues, and it makes the match that much more amazing to me. And that was one of the things I'm like, man, this dude is still doing it. And what he did with Kenny Omega was just amazing. Well deserved. You know what I mean? The ace of New Japan. Like I said on Instagram, I said the king is back on his throne.
Yeah.
He's a star maker.
I mean, you saying that watching it on the Japanese commentary, man, that's got me thinking. Like, see, I watch the English because I get a chance to learn the stories the way they can, best explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I might have to go back and watch that match with the Japanese commentary.
I never watched New Japan matches with the English commentary. I don't like
really.
It. I think the first time that I tried to listen to it was when I believe JR and Kelly did that.
Oh, no wonder. Okay.
They did the I forgot what it was in New Japan.
No,
I think it's the first time Wrestle Kingdom was simulcast with English commentary.
Yeah. Because I remember everybody made a big deal that Jim Ross was going to be on there.
And everybody's like, oh, I'm so glad to hear his voice. And yada, yada. And I'm like,
that's all it really was. Because I remember you and a lot of the New Japan faithful was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, he's eight-time IWGP. Yeah, I didn't like it at all because I'm used to seeing clips with the Japanese commentary.
Okay.
And the commentators, you may not really fully understand what they're saying, but I mean, it's I can't explain it. It's tough. When you watch it, it's like there's certain cues that they're just on time with, and everything is so quick and it's so on pace that I feel like the American translators don't always catch those nuances. And then to me, it adds specialty to the match. Like when they call certain stuff, the excitement in certain moments, it kind of keeps my eyes on those spots as well, so I don't miss those moments. So anytime I see, especially a big match, like anything with Tanahashi in it, anytime you see Okada, anytime you see Naito, I'm like, oh no. Anytime you see Tiger, what's his last name? The referee, the guy who books pretty much the shows, and then of course Red Shoes. Those are all the big matches.
Yeah.
Anytime you see those guys in the ring, I don't want to hear nothing English commentary.
Okay. So Kenny Omega, man, WWE or AEW?
Man, I don't know, especially after watching that AEW press conference today.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, I don't know what Kenny Omega's motives are.
Right.
We don't know what he's trying to prove. WWE, like you work so hard to get to the WWE because if that was the case, he would have stayed in New Japan. If they were paying him, he was happy, he was comfortable. It depends on what he wants to do. I don't know if he wants to be one of those guys say, you know what, I want to be the innovator. I want to be like the Sting. At one point, everybody said, I want to be like the AJ Styles, the guy that could travel the world and make as much money and not do it in the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
But then when those guys got to the WWE, they said, yeah, I should have been here the entire time. This is always the goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Can he be that guy? And what point does he have to prove? Does he feel like building another company? Is his legacy to build a new legacy in the world of professional wrestling? Or does he want to bang with the best?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? all the major studs that he danced with, that he's been compared to, they're all waiting for him at the E. Now, if you want to be a big fish in a small pond, by all means, if you want to revolutionize the business, by all means, that's why Cody and the Young Bucks decided to do what they wanted to do. Because they weren't concerned with being the best and being with the best. They wanted to change the industry. My question is that what Kenny Omega wants to do?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big, like, at the height of his popularity last year, I thought he would have got lost on the shelf in the WWE. After this year, I'm saying to myself, he's the biggest unsigned superstar on the face of the planet that's not in the WWE, and everybody is tripping over him. I said, man, that was probably one of the. I said, at the height of his popularity, most people would say, you might as well go. But he decided to stay. I said, man, he's crazy. But looking at him now, like I said before, there was a time where I did not see Kenny Omega as a major player in the WWE. Now I do.
Yeah.
I'm a believer. And I'm saying to myself, I think he could hold down one of those top spots. And I don't think he'll get lost in the shuffle in the WWE because he's a guy that, one, they're going to want to see. And two, he's going to have his opportunity. And three, they're going to test him the same way they did AJ.
Mm-hmm.
And now AJ is probably one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star on the roster right now. Kenny Omega could have that same opportunity. And if it doesn't work out, he can always leave and go to AEW. But judging by the way things are now, the WWE may be a little bit more careful with how they treat their people and what type of contracts they offer the guys, because now there's more opportunities to go places. So,
yeah,
it's tough to say. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know.
This is going to be very interesting, man. And I like when it gets like this. I mean, for wrestling fans, it's like July for NBA fans, you know, when we're wonder where LeBron James or Kevin Durant's going to sign. For wrestling fans, that's what it's honestly like. You know, I remember a few years ago when Kurt Angle, when he decided to stick with TNA instead of going back to WWE, I remember being like sad. I'm like, man, like
I was hurt too. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, I was like, come on, Kurt. But
to find out he was still dealing with drug issues.
Right. You know, so I mean, he's there now, and we've been able to get some of the matches that we didn't think we would get. So, but let me talk about some of these other title matches real quick. Will Ospreay defeating Kota Ibushi for the never openweight title. Mm-hmm. This is a match that a lot of people listen to a couple podcasts out there. One's Collar and Elbow, and they were talking about they were surprised. They thought they was getting one match, a high flying match, but it was really like stiff. Did you get a chance to see it? I know you saw the spot where Ospreay, used the that clothesline to the back of Ibushi's head.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, but did you get a chance to see the whole match? I didn't get to see this whole match.
Ooh, yes, I did. Goodness gracious. It was very Japanese strong style.
Okay. That's what I keep hearing.
The thing about Will Ospreay and Kota Ibushi is their versatility in the ring. Mm-hmm. I think people take for granted that they do the high flying stuff, and they've been doing it for years. But they told a completely different story this time around in the ring. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because of the championship they were fighting for, just to prove a point about the never open weight championship. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was hard hitting. Like, and I think they said Kota Ibushi ended up having a concussion.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
But goodness gracious, oh boy! I mean, Will Ospreay has always been one of my guys. The minute he, like I said, I saw him years ago in a triple threat match. Him, Marty Scurll, and AJ Styles at Revolution Pro UK, and that's when I first discovered Revolution Pro UK. And those two guys in particular, and they've been high up on my list ever since. So when he signed with New Japan and Marty Scurll signed with Ring of Honor, I knew he was going to have more opportunities to do stuff like this once he kind of got out of the Super Junior category. Mm-hmm. And he still kind of is somewhat, but what I'm seeing is, and I'm seeing an evolution of both of these guys. They've done the lightweight stuff. They've done the flips. They've done the spot monkey style matches, but this match was brutal. I mean, it kept me in awe, and I was kind of shocked. I was like, man, I didn't know Will Ospreay kind of had that in him. Like you've seen signs of it, but it was I was like, whew, this is tough.
Wow. So yeah, let's hear. You also had Chris Jericho losing the IWGP Intercontinental Championship to Tetsuya Naito. Mm-hmm. Did this really come off as a surprise?
Not at all.
Yeah.
When you look at Jericho's run with the IWGP Intercontinental titles, it hasn't been that many defenses.
Right.
There was a point in time I'm like, wait a minute, is he still the champion or what's the deal? Naito has had a run with the IWGP Intercontinental Champion before, where he kind of just demolished the title. Like he was thrown up in the air. I mean, it took for Tanahashi to have to beat him. He literally revived the strap and had to put new plates on the belt because of how beat up it was. I'm afraid it's probably going to go back to that again with Naito. His personality just doesn't care about anything. Kind of does what he wants to do. But I wasn't surprised. I think working with guys like Jericho helps a guy like Naito take his game to the next level. It puts him in a main event category that he's always been in, but sometimes this past year it seems like he's kind of been in and out of it. There was a time when he was getting a major push. And I don't want to say he fell by the wayside, but it's kind of like, well, what is he doing? You know what I mean? And kind of getting that rub from Jericho was kind of his way of saying, look, this is a main event level kind of guy. And I'm kind of looking forward to what he does with it next, because I think he can kind of carry that brand and carry that title to a different place, depending on how they decide to book him and depending on what type of challengers they bring to him next. So I wasn't surprised. And, of course, Jericho doesn't stay with no company long-term, not including AEW that he reportedly signed with.
Right.
So, yeah, that was like I said, I don't think you can't get a bad match out of Chris Jericho half the time with a guy like Naito, because Jericho's style is different in New Japan than what you see in the WWE. The limits are a little bit less skewed. There's a little bit more freedom, and the type of character that Jericho has played in New Japan is completely different from anything we've seen of him in the WWE. So I think his style in this match versus WWE, it kind of meshed well with Naito and his kind of devil-may-care attitude. So I enjoyed it.
And then last one we'll touch on, speaking of next level, Juice Robinson defeating Cody Rhodes, or Cody. So this was 9 minutes and 2 seconds. And I didn't get a chance to ask you this offline, but hey, we're in the realm, so it's the perfect time to ask you. I heard somebody else agree with you when I was listening to the podcast, Collar and Elbow, and they were saying everything you said about Cody, that it leaves so much left to be desired in the ring. And they said pretty much the same thing. Could not remember.
Thank you.
A great match.
This is probably one of the more boring matches on the card.
Okay.
if listen to me, if you watch this match, watch. I want you to watch Kenny Omega's match with Tanahashi, right? And that's the most extreme match you're going to hear. No,
I watched that one.
Watch that match, and then watch Okada versus Switchblade Jay White, right? And then listen to the audience. Everything Okada does, they trip for. Even when he snatched off his pants, he fake put his pants on, and he snatched those pants off, and people went crazy.
Yeah,
like you heard that in the arena. Watch that Cody Rhodes Juice Robinson match. It is quiet. You can hear a mouse pee on a cotton ball. That's how quiet it was in there. And I'm looking at this. I said, this match it's not boring, but it's like there's much left to be desired. I'm like, okay, I got it.
Does this go back to what you said before about Cody coming from money and his whole style? Like, does his matches reflect that?
No, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I love Cody Rhodes, but his matches are like
I'm always invested in his moments.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm so invested in Cody Rhodes, but his wrestling match, and it's never because of his wrestling matches. I never look at his matches and say, man, that Cody Rhodes match was one that really made me, I'm just not feeling that. And this match was no different. I'm just like, that match probably would have meant more if he was in a ring with somebody. To me, that was a match for him to try to help make a superstar. That is his responsibility as a veteran passing. But it seems so lackluster. For what reason, I don't know. But like I said, it's just difficult when you have a title like that with guys that are all over the place.
Yeah.
When Tanahashi has a match with you in New Japan, it's a big deal because that's the guy in New Japan. If you can beat him, you're a made man in the conversation. Kenny Omega became the man because he beat him at some point. Same thing with Okada because he beat him. It's a big deal.
Okay.
AJ Styles because he beat him. That solidified who you were in New Japan. Can I say the same thing about a guy like Cody Rhodes with a New Japan title? No, I can't, because that belt is kind of like, I'm confused. I don't really know the importance of the United States Championship because I keep forgetting, like, you guys got a United States Championship and you also got an Intercontinental Championship all on one brand. It's difficult. Now,
Yeah.
I understand the United States Championship because that's the belt that kind of travels a little bit more. But I'm like, is that the one you just keep putting on the foreigners?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just a Gaijin title? I don't know. What are you telling me? But I don't know. It was cool. It was cool watching Cody Rhodes have the title and walk out with it. But I feel like it had little importance because I've seen Cody Rhodes in 1,000 other places that he didn't have the title.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a prime example. Nick Aldis. Every time I see him, he's got that NWA championship, and he's carrying it like Ric Flair used to back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his female bodyguard. But that title looks so important to me because every time I see him, he has that title. In New Japan, you can't really travel anywhere outside of that promotion with the title. All In didn't come off as big as it did because Kenny Omega didn't have the strap around his waist.
Yeah, that's
You know
true.
what I mean? So that's stuff like that to me makes it messes with the perception, especially as an American wrestling fan watching foreign. Like I don't have New Japan World, and New Japan doesn't have any weekly television.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not catching all their monthly pay-per-views, you're not kind of getting the full gist of how important something really is, unless you're really familiar with that guy and they're that over, like the ace of New Japan, like Okada.
Yeah.
Jay White faced Okada because they was like, yo, if you could hang with this dude, oh yeah, you definitely the main event scene. And at New Beginning, guess who's facing Tanahashi for the title? Jay White.
Jay White. Is Okada? Oh, go ahead.
Because now he's in the conversation. He danced with the big dogs, and he proved he can hang with them. He's at least in the conversation now.
Is Jay White and Okada a future Wrestle Kingdom main event?
Yes, indeed. I was going to say that when I saw that match, I said, "Oh boy!" I said, and I've been an immediate fan of Jay White. You know me, I like to scout talent. When I first saw him in Ring of Honor, he was one of the young boys. You can always see the young boys because at the matches they always got the track suits on and they bring out the towels and the ice bags and stuff like that. Because even Juice Robinson was one. I think in last year's Wrestle Kingdom or the year before that he was there when he first went to New Japan. And I remember when he started doing his excursions in Ring of Honor, we saw him a couple of times. I said, I like this dude. I saw him on TV a couple of times. I said, I like this Jay White guy, man. He's really, really good. And of course, after he does his excursion, he comes back with a whole new character. He's a switchblade. I'm like, oh man. And he's had a really good year. But once he got in the ring with Okada and he beat him, I said, oh, he's a made man. Now that's why he was one of my breakout stars of 2019. I said, you beat one of the golden gooses of New Japan, this guy's going to be a major player. I said, This is the guy they're going to go with. This is the guy that's going to help bring them up. And also bring eyes to the product across the water overseas.
Mm-hmm. All right, before we get into From the Realm, I gotta ask you this: because you're talking, man, just bring up this idea, and I wish I would have asked it earlier. With the announcement of All Elite Wrestling, with these guys having, I'm gonna use quotation air quotes, contracts, does that change the Madison Square Garden show that's going to take place at WrestleMania weekend?
No, it doesn't, because New Japan is going to bring out their best studs.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's already booked.
Right.
Okay, let's put it this way. It does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It does make a difference. Because I don't know if New Japan had any idea or any inkling
That's what I was thinking.
that Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks were going to take their talents, and Hangman Page. I'm talking about this, and this is what I was saying earlier. These are guys that have been invested in by these companies, have been invested in by their property, and and given these huge platforms to decide to say, yeah, we're going to do our own thing now.
Mm-hmm.
That changes everything, because the whole point of running Madison Square Garden, this new stateside initiative, is because you had these familiar faces. You just lost 4, really lost 5. And I'm saying major because Kushida is a big deal. Every time Ring of Honor and New Japan has always had a Global Wars or War of the Worlds, there's usually 2 nights. Kushida has always been there. I remember him the most. That was probably the most I got to learn about Kushida was in 2015. And not only at the Border Wars, when they had that permanent partnership they began to do, there were times where Kushida would be on TV. His tag team with Alex Shelley is one of my favorite tag teams that ever come out of New Japan. That's the Time Splitters. I've loved the Time Splitters more than I've loved Motor City Machine Gun. That's one of my favorite tag teams with Alex Shelley. The only time I've really ever been a fan of Alex Shelley.
Right.
And that's what made me like, because I've never been an Alex Shelley fan. But then when he was with the Time Splitters and they were doing the whole Back to the Future gimmick, I said, this is kind of cool. I like this. But Kushida has been a big, big deal. And now that he's leaving to go overseas, whatever that means, presumably most people are talking about maybe WWE. Because I feel like if he was with All Elite, he probably would have signed already.
Right.
So you lose Kushida, you lose Kenny Omega, you lose the Young Bucks, and you lose Cody Rhodes. You know, not including guys like Hangman Page and all that kind of stuff. You probably keep Marty Scurll because he's still working with Ring of Honor, and not to mention New Japan Pro Wrestling. Allegedly, I'm not sure if this is true or not. Once again, but they have said that they will continue their partnership with Ring of Honor. I'm like, oh, so what does that mean? All those American faces, and a lot of those, and not excluding Kushida, were your biggest draws for your American audience.
Yeah.
So how do I feel now as New Japan about All Elite Wrestling? Because we kind of made you who you were, with the exception of Cody Rhodes. But the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, Young Bucks were in New Japan long before they were really in Ring of Honor. They were out there for majority of the time before they signed that deal. They signed 2 years back to back with Ring of Honor. All of a sudden, those contracts is up. So you've turned your back on those two companies that are working together to start your own thing. And I don't know. Are they gonna? Is All Elite gonna? They're gonna show up WrestleMania weekend somehow, some shape or form.
Yep.
So it does affect it. It's a huge. Because now, who do you book? Who do the American audience come to see at Madison Square Garden? Don't get me wrong. There'll be plenty of wrestling. They're going to sell it out regardless. It's still sold out.
Yeah, but I know it's sold out.
Still sold out regardless, right? But it does change everything, because now who do you give to people that makes their money really worth it?
Yeah,
it's a good question. This is what this once again, like I said, this brings me back to my original point. You everybody's so worried about All Elite Wrestling in the WWE. I'm like, well, okay, so forget that. What about that direct competition? What about Ring of Honor? What about New Japan Pro Wrestling? Something to think about.
It's definitely something to think about, man. But it's time to come from the Realm.
And now for our From the Realm segment, where I answer your questions from the Facebook fan page, the Facebook group page, and the Twitter at Wrestling Realm.
All right, so we got a lot of questions. So, folks, those who sent in questions, thank you. You get a treat, because not only do you get answers from me, you get answers from the Realness. Oh boy!
Did you see the questions from the Instagram page? I think somebody sent some.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I didn't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, there's a couple in here. I'm already anticipating your reaction.
Oh no!
All right, we'll start with Kevin Crittenden. Sorry, Kevin.
You already messed his names up, right?
No, I've read his name before because he's a loyal listener. I apologize because I'm laughing. But he said these are mostly WWE Network related. His question is, how has the network and streaming platforms in general changed how you watch wrestling? I'll let you answer that first.
For me, honestly, it's kind of been good and bad. I'll say good because, one, I have so much wrestling at the tip of my fingertips, and it's on demand. But that's also been the problem. I don't know how they count revenue streams in regards to the ratings and how they measure those things when it comes to your own personal network. But sometimes I'm not in as a rush to see things because I know I'll see it eventually because it's there. Versus even when we even when we used to get illegal streams, not me, of course, not me, but when people used to get the illegal streams, you still had to watch it at a certain time because that was the time that it was streaming. But with these streaming networks, I can kind of take my time. I don't have to rush to see it at 7:05 or 8 o'clock or whenever it comes on, because I can say, I'll see it later. And also, sometimes these networks, they kind of spoil my wrestling appetite. Because if I'm not satisfied with the current product, I can go back and watch the old stuff. But then when you go back and watch the old stuff, it makes it difficult for you to watch the new stuff. Because you're like, man, because you'll watch regular Monday Night Raw, you watch SmackDown Live on Tuesday, and it's all fine and dandy. You're good. You see AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Andrade, Cien Almas, Rusev. You're good, no problem. But then you go back and you watch an old school Raw just for the sake of it, in the heart of 98, 99, and you go, goodness gracious, this is all in one Raw. Ugh, I don't think no, they got it. Then you go back and you watch Raw that following Monday. You're like, ugh, this isn't working for me.
Right.
So it kind of spoils my taste buds. So those two are the major reasons, the major ways that wrestling streaming services have affected how I watch the product.
Well, and I agree. That's what I was thinking. It definitely changes. I'm no longer in a rush to get home to watch pay-per-views, but I will say this: if I have to leave and go to the store, I might use my phone and put it in the passenger seat and let the audio run. I remember.
I definitely do that. I don't know if that's the safest thing for us to be doing, but I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, it was a time I had to go to Walmart. It was Sting versus Seth Rollins, and I watched that match in Walmart because I had to get something. My daughter was, smaller toddler, so I had to get something for her. So it couldn't wait. So,
the princess. Seth Rollins trying to kill Sting.
Oh, man. Yeah, but so that'll kind of take us into the next question. Good and the bad of the WWE network almost 5 years later. That's his question. What's the good and the bad of the network?
I'll say the good, all the original content, original programming.
Mm-hmm.
I love the shows like WWE Chronicle. I love the shows like Box Club with Anderson and Gallows. Hilarious. And of course, my favorite show is Edge and Christian's show that totally reeks of awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 has been absolutely hilarious. I love Story Time. Rest his soul, Mean Gene. I love all the original programming, like all that stuff with the WWE Network. What I don't like is I don't get it as often as I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Ride-alongs enough. I love ride-along. I love. Anybody knows me. I love all the backstage stuff. Like I never broke out of loving wrestling, not because all people. Oh, you realize it wasn't real. It was pretty. I say yeah, but just the idea of the business and the excitement of it kind of kept my interest. So as I got older, I found new ways to love it. But sometimes they don't keep that stuff as updated as I would like them to.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm a production guy myself, and I understand we even do it. Like we rather not put nothing out until it's all finished and situated. But man, it's really, really good.
Yep.
And like, man, I kind of just want another episode or another opportunity. So that's probably the bad. I love all the original programming, but I love how I don't get it as much as I really want to.
I just think that's kind of interesting. You said that. I just had this statement and I just lost it that fast. Crap. It was something.
It happens.
Oh, Me and Gene, Story Time. These shows have been able to kind of keep some of our legends, be able to, we're not going to see them on TV every week, but we can still get them on the network, with shows like that. And it was still giving us an opportunity to get something fresh from them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I got to agree with pretty much everything you said. The one thing I'll say the bad thing about it is sometimes music change because of the rights.
That's the WCW. Watch it. You're trying to watch old WCW stuff or like old Undertaker stuff?
Yes. That's the stuff that drives me crazy. When they got to change the music. DDP's music, like I'll go back and watch that on YouTube because I liked his song that he had in WCW.
The ripoff of Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit. And the crazy part is when I was young, I always thought it was the same song, only to find out it was a Jimmy Hart ripoff, and I was like, oh no wonder they've had legal issues.
See, I never knew that until now.
I think I don't know if it was DDP or somebody said it. I don't know what I was listening to. I think it was Bruce and Conrad something, and they were talking about DDP had issues. No, it might have been on 83 Weeks they were talking about it, and I was like, oh, that's why the song sounds so familiar. But they actually got the dude, the drummer from Foo Fighters, or the lead singer from Foo Fighters, the drummer from Nirvana. He was saying, yeah, they owe us money.
Wow. And his last question is, what shows do you still want to see?
Which shows do I still want to see?
Yeah, and I'm assuming so for instance, I would say for me, I want to see JBL's show with the Legends come back.
Okay.
Is there a show out there that was on the network, or perhaps an idea, or maybe you don't want to spill that, but is there a show out there that they may have taken off that you want to see?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think. What did they? A couple of shows got canceled, and I know JBL Legends. I would probably say JBL Legends. That was really good because JB Lowe Legends was always raw and uncut. Like he always got straight to the point. He would always ask the tough questions.
The tough question. He was a journalist.
I mean, like for instance, I would have loved to have him sit down with Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, that would have been
what I mean?
good.
I think he sat down with. Did he sit down with Jerry Jarrett?
I can't remember. I know he sat with Booker T.
Sat down with Booker T. Sat down with Sting. He sat down with a couple of guys.
Yeah.
But I would have loved for him to sit down with a guy like Jeff Jarrett. I'd love to see him sit down with a guy like Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even Vince McMahon.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Ask him the tough questions about, listen, you know, from your mouth, from your perspective, what was it like when you decided to go national, when you bought all these territories up?
And I know Conrad Thompson has said they'll never get Vince McMahon on a podcast. I find that hard to believe. I just got this gut feeling they're gonna find a way to get them on something, Vince on something to wrestle with.
That's that heck no. Listen, that dude just hosted all Elite's press conference. There's no way in the world he's doing what's called. There's no way in the world. See, that it changes everything.
Dang.
And this is the reason I don't like new promotions popping up. When you start getting ambitious and you start trying to go big, that's when WWE starts getting all tight with stuff like
that's
rumors of they say they're not letting people in with all Elite wrestling gear on at SmackDown Live and all that, which I get it. First of all, I don't know if it's legit.
Well, let me clarify that for you. I saw a video on Twitter of a guy, and this is why I believe that was staged, the video. Because the guy said, so I can get in with my shirt now? Yeah, they're letting people in with these shirts. Oh, well, why'd you give me this 20 minutes ago? I don't know. So I personally believe that was staged. I think somebody...
Trying to cause a buzz.
Trying to cause a buzz, I think.
See, that's what's
wrestling fans
what I don't like.
Exactly.
That's what I don't like. That's the stuff I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, here we go. Because don't give it the TNA stuff.
Exactly.
At WrestleMania, TNA flying a blimp over the arena. Nobody can read the TNA letters on the blimp itself. But you're going to fly a blimp over the arena. Impact on Tuesdays. I digress.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on. Let's get on to our boy, the Shark. His is, and we have, quite a few for this one. Who do you predict will have a breakout year in NXT in 2019?
I think that Bobby Fish.
Oh, okay.
I think Bobby Fish is set to have a breakout year. I think he's a guy that's kind of been on the sideline, but he is just talent waiting to explode, and they haven't necessarily reinserted him back into the tag team scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he goes after that North American Championship.
Yeah. I
think it's going to be an undisputed era year. If they last that long, they're way too talented to be down there for too long. In all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not act like Adam Cole wasn't in the Royal Rumble last year for no reason. There was no reason for him to be there. It was not. It's not like he was champion. He just was there because everybody knew who the heck Adam Cole was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and quick side bit. Can you name a more talented 4-man group since Evolution?
No.
Outside of okay, I was just asking.
No, and I'm going with Bianca Belair. I know we just posted that on the Realm.
Yeah. I expected to have a huge year.
But it's right there, for her, and I think she's just going to take it. I think she's going to own it this year. Move on. His next question is rumors that with the women's tag titles being made, the regular titles are going to be changed as well. How would you change the tag titles?
The regular tag titles?
Yeah. So, and I'm assuming now I look at the question, because at first I thought he meant the way that just the tag titles in general, but I'm assuming he means the belt design.
Me, I'm a belt guy. I would always go classic.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I like the direction NXT has gone in.
Yeah.
NXT's tag titles. I mean, all the titles have a very modern but classic look to them, and I'm a huge fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I ever saw belt designs that kind of merged both ideas of classic feel with modern day, with a modern day look, it's NXT's all their championship titles, the women's title, the men's world title, the American, and of course the tag titles, and even the UK title.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's a modern look, but it's got a classic feel to it.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion. I would go classic. I would definitely go classic feel.
Yeah, I gotta agree. You know, I'm looking at the when they were the pennies, I didn't like them, but when they were black and gold, but now they red and blue, I don't mind. But
yeah, they don't bother me as much.
Yeah, but you're right. I definitely. I mean, I was one. I wish they never changed the original WWE tag titles. I was always just a fan of that design, and it was just
okay. Well, first of all, how do you say that? What is the original WWE tag title? Because every generation has had the original.
Yeah, good
WWE
point.
Tag
Good point. My bad, Mr. Beltman.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you gonna talk about these belts, bro?
I'm talking Heart Foundation, the Legion of Doom, that title. You know,
the gold ones or the silver ones?
The gold ones.
Okay, because there was a silver one, some silver ones.
Yeah, the gold ones. You know.
Okay.
Wasn't the biggest fan of the SmackDown version with the blue in it, but I understood it. But I like that ones but also that's my childhood.
I concur. Don't get me wrong. I didn't. Yeah.
And then his Shark got two more questions. So one is the second to last. Why is it that we have yet to see Samoa Joe get his hands on a championship since NXT? When will it happen?
I think if he can stay healthy long enough, I think Joe is poised for one of those. Because you got to remember, to me, you got to be careful in the E. Because in the E, there's always that one guy that he kind of has a buttload of losses, then out the blue he becomes a champion, right? Yeah. Like I think about Jinder Mahal. You know what I mean? Like he was Rusev's lackey before he got an opportunity. Dean Ambrose had a run like that. Dean Ambrose was losing a lot. Like he was in stuff, but he was taking a lot of L's, and then all of a sudden he became WWE champion. I think he's kind of up next for something. What I don't know, in all honesty, but I think they just want to make sure he's healthy.
Okay.
Because to me, this is the longest tenured Samoa Joe run he's had in a minute. Because usually he gets on a roll, then he gets hurt, and he's out for about 3 or 4 months. Then he gets on a roll, and he gets sidelined for a little bit. But I don't know. It's tough because you can say the same thing about Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode kind of was like, what are they doing with this guy? This guy came up with a huge thing, NXT champion. He's got gold around his waist now.
And Bobby Roode was a U.S. champion. He
was U.S. champion on SmackDown. You know what I mean? So it's tough to say. I don't know. It's tough to say. I think if he's that healthy, I think it's a health. To me, it seems like it's a health issue. They don't know how long it can last sometimes.
Yeah. Oh man. I hate to say this because I always hated the statement. Doesn't need the title.
Yeah.
Doesn't need it.
He does. Like he's just.
Like when I see Samoa Joe, I know it's a big deal. I see him coming.
When he loses, it's not a loss.
Yeah, because you get hurt. You might beat him, but you're going to walk away in pain. Look at Roman.
Samoa Joe, you going to come back and say something to him afterwards?
Right, exactly. Look at Roman. Look at Seth. Last
look at Brock Lesnar.
Tell me about it.
That's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then last, who would you say is your least favorite manager of all time?
Wow. Least favorite manager of all time. Probably Colonel Parker. Isn't his name?
Yeah.
Colonel Parker. He was always corny to me.
Okay. Wow. I ain't think about him. Me, I'll say it like this. I never connected with Harvey.
Yeah.
It just never, it wasn't a thing where he was annoying, but it wasn't, he was get off my TV annoying. He wasn't like Bobby Heenan. Like, oh, I don't like him, but I need to see him on TV so I can see him get beat up. I'm gonna
tell you who's more annoying than Harvey Whippleman.
Who?
Bill Alfonso.
Okay.
In ECW.
Yeah.
He would not stop blowing that whistle. Oh my gosh, whether it's Taz, RVD, or Sabu. Oh man, he would spend his it would be whole matches he'd just be blowing the whistle. But that's a close second. That's a close second for me.
Yeah. So let's move on. This one came from Darnell Freeman in the Wrestling Realm group. Why is
that funny?
Why doesn't the WWE give the United States Championship back to the NWA?
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had.
I think that the NWA has their own United States Championship. No, they brought back they just recently brought back the national championship, didn't they?
The national championship held by Willie Mack.
Willie Mack
defeated Matt Cross this weekend at.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that because that was the funny thing is that national title was the first thing I thought about when I saw NXT's North American Championship.
Oh yeah.
When I saw that big brown strap, I said that's got the national championship written all over. Mm-hmm. And congrats to Willie Mack. It was a brother. He's been around. I remember him back when he was always. I saw him all the time in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Back when they were still part of the NWA. Mm-hmm. Like it was, because there was a point they were part of the NWA, and then they split because of the people that were running it. But now it's kind of like their home base again. So.
Oh, okay.
And I've seen him on Impact Wrestling recently, so kudos to him.
Yeah, I believe he was at the pay-per-view the other night.
I don't think the WWE can give back. I mean, every promotion has their own United States. I feel like if the NWA wanted to have their own United States Championship, they could. And because think about it, let's talk about '97 when Jeff Jarrett came in with Jim Cornette, they had NWA titles. Mm-hmm. And the NWA World Heavyweight Championship was, I believe, around the waist of Dan Severn. I could be wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not like WCW had to give the title back.
Right.
So.
And then his last question is, it's a new era. Oh, no, sorry. It's why don't WWE wise up, get rid of their current championship designs and go back to the ones from 2000 to 2005. 2002 to 2005, the Ruthless Aggression era. I guess you can kind of tell when this guy was a fan, became a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, just because the WWE is it's a corporate entity that's always looking to move forward. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And commercially, when it comes to merchandise, and Vince McMahon is, from my personal witness as a fan, has always been the type of guy that is always about going forward and not backwards. Mm-hmm. Unless it's a classic situation like for the IC title.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they change them for reasons. They. Every 5 to 10 years or so, they decide to change belt designs. It's just part of the business, part of progression, new ideas, new concepts. Don't get me wrong. I was upset when they got rid of the big gold WCW belt and then the big eagle, and then they came out with the undisputed championship, and it was really little. I wasn't a fan of that title. Mm-hmm. I didn't become a fan of it again until Brock Lesnar had it, because it got so much bigger.
Right.
That's like even if you buy the replicas today, it's always got it. The most popular one was the version 2. Mm-hmm. Like, because it was huge. It's a big belt. And I'm like, that's what a world championship should have been. So I mean, titles change. It's part of the business. That's just whatever they decided to do to move on. That's what they wanted to do.
Yep, pretty much. And then the last question, this coming from Instagram at Zave with a Z 95. Do you think Jay Lethal will drop the ROH title after he passes Samoa Joe's record? And Samoa Joe's record is 645 days.
Good gosh.
As a single reign.
Okay.
Jay Lethal's current reign is a little bit over 100 days, but his did
you just say a little over 100 days?
Hold on. I had it because his combined reign is 618 days. For Jay Lethal, 618 plus when I
combined.
Yeah, so that's what I'm assuming this question is, the combined title reign.
Probably not, because I think Jay Lethal is probably going to go down as a Ring of Honor lifer, the way he's looking. Mm-hmm. That's why they still call him the franchise, because he's one of the guys he's probably one of the only guys that's had to stick around. I don't know what his situation looks like or his contracts or what, but I don't have no inside information. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the WWE has ever really reached out to me. Jay Lethal was at his peak in 2000, I guess 14 through 16. Mm-hmm. He had his major runs. I could be wrong.
Right.
And they didn't want him then. You know what I mean? Or at the time, the business was still kind of hot outside of the WWE. There was a lot of good wrestling going on outside of the WWE. I'm telling you, man, 2015 was that year.
Yeah, you say it all the time.
I'm telling you. And to see him now, it's kind of like, man, he's still a Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think he might be a Ring of Honor lifer. I don't know how he has any bigger years than he's already had. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like Kenny Omega had a huge year the year before, and then the following year he signed again. I'm like, what else is there left for him to do? And he took his game to the next level. Jay Lethal keeps. I don't see him having a bigger run than what he's already had before. At least not Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not his fault. It's just that all the talent all the matchups are just not there anymore. They're all fresh faces.
Right.
It's tough to say. I don't know. That's a tough one. But I think he drops it eventually. But maybe he's got Dalton Castle up next again.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't know.
Well, folks, you got a treat. You've been 50 episodes, so it's only right you get a treat. You get the Wrestling Realm in its full capacity. You get myself, the real Dwayne Allen. Dwayne, I definitely appreciate you coming on.
No problem, brother. Anytime you call, I'm always there to do my part.
Yeah, of course. You gotta let people know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Dwayne Allen 24. That is DWAYNEALLEN24. You can also find me at therealdwayneallen.com. I cover everything from sneakers, skateboarding, professional wrestling, anything I got my mind on at the time. That's where you catch it at. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling Realm. 2 W's, Wrestling Realm, especially on Instagram. Also look out for the Realness Reacts, quick minute shorts and hot takes on a number of different subjects that I so happen to feel about whenever I feel about it.
There we go.
If that makes any sense. I'm not sure it does, but I said it anyway.
Hey man, the people, they heard enough from me. Of course they still get me, but now they getting more of the realness this year in 2019.
Oh, they're gonna be sick of me. I'm gonna make sure of it.
Oh man. Well, folks, until the next time, so long, everybody.